Still watching the Afia Business Morning. This is the Eastern Business Report, which is designed to bring you up to speed on business activities and policies affecting businesses and the economy of the southeastern region of Nigeria. It usually comes after global business, but today's edition, it comes right after the opening bell. And on today's edition of the Eastern Business Report, we will be looking at the hospitality industry in Enugu State, with special reference to the landmark effect. My name is Ubong Kings. Welcome to the Eastern Business Report. Just before the break, I did say we are on today's edition of the Eastern Business Report. We'll be looking at the hospitality industry in Enugu State, a special reference to the landmark effect. Now, this is in relation to the groundbreaking Enugu Landmark Partnership and all the different dynamics to this. The question really is, how would this be very beneficial for Ndi Enugu in the long run? And joining me on this conversation is none other than Paul Onwuanibe, who is the founder, CEO, Landmark Africa Group, who joins us live this morning. Good morning, Paul. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure having you on the show this morning. And quite a number of conversations have erupted with reference to the landmark, effect in Enugu State. I mean, the other day I was opportune to see a report. Someone was saying he was really excited. He almost could jump out of his skin because he was excited that Landmark was doing a lot of things in Enugu State. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about Landmark in a bit, right? Share with us the Landmark story. Let's start there before we move into what Landmark is really doing in Enugu State.
All right, great. So briefly, Landmark is a 27-year-old company. I founded it in the UK, in London, in the UK in 1997, having just finished my stint at Regis. And over the next sort of 5 years, spread it across a number of 7 different European cities, and went into America, New York. In 2001, there was a World Trade Center disaster in New York. We were severely affected, and at that time, Africa was becoming a different place. So we thought it was ready for a business like ours. Came into Africa, brought Landmark into Africa in 2003, into Lagos in 2006, and over the from a serviced office brand to a property brand to a destination platform. In 2015. We sold our Africa business and focused on Nigeria and in Lagos. So it's been quite a journey. We've operated over 17 different locations in 4 different continents over the last 28 odd years. So it's been fun. So that's Landmark for you. Following what happened to part of our leisure facilities with the coastal road, we decided to do a diversification strategy, and over the next few years, we intend to go back and spread across Africa, West Africa again, and Enugu obviously was one of our first choices in terms of location for many reasons. I'm sure we'll come to that.
Okay, yeah, I like the way you put it. We'll come to that, because definitely we'll come to that. Now, you already took our time to talk about the scope of Landmark's operations and all of that. And would you say, if someone is watching this for the very first time and wondering, okay, what is Landmark really about? Is it just a property development company, or it transcends everything else? What would you say?
So I'm not sure I got the question.
Okay, let me repeat myself, right? I mean, someone's watching and he's heard you say you've had different locations of the company in different places, and the question that comes to his mind or her mind will be, okay, what is Landmark really about? Is it property development or something else and everything else in between?
No, good question. So it started as a property development company, but we describe ourselves as a platform developer. So we are a business, leisure, and lifestyle developer. So what we try to do, we try to develop platforms as destinations. So people can come. Landmark has literally a simple strategy. Bring as many people in as possible, give them some amazing experiences, make sure they have a really great time, and tell other people about us. So our currency is people, what's traditionally called footfall. The more people who come here and the longer they stay in any landmark location, the more successful we are.
I like the way you put that. The longer the stay, the more successful you are. Okay, let's talk about, we already talked about this in passing. You mentioned it anyway. The choice of Enugu, really. Okay, so let's talk about that. I mean, you say you have a location, there's Lagos, and now you're talking about Enugu. What informed this decision? What was the driving force? What was the guiding principle, if you like, of choosing Enugu State?
So I'm going to be brutally honest here, right?
Brutally, okay.
It's a mixture of, yeah. Excuse me. It's a mixture of commercial and emotional decisions. So commercially, Enugu doesn't need to be introduced to anyone, right? It was more or less the capital of the eastern region. It was the capital of the eastern region. It's got lovely terrain. I've gone on record saying that Frederick Forsyth described it as the most beautiful city on earth. Just so those that don't know, Enugu is incredibly attractive, not just locally, regionally, but also internationally. And its location and number of people, it just has under 5 million people as a state, as a city, just under 1 million people. It's got good network, and the governance there is strong. And the city and the government are very, very, very obsessed with creating an enabling environment for businesses and a tourism platform. So that's the commercial reason. The emotional reason are two things. I went to university in Enugu. I went to University of Nigeria, Enugu campus, and Nike was just starting when I was leaving university. And at the time, I felt it was probably the best holiday resort in West Africa, if not further in the region. Secondly, I married my wife from Enugu. So Enugu is a place that's very dear to my heart too, for both those reasons.
Okay, all right, great. We've seen the commercial. We've also got the emotional attachment to Enugu State. Great. Now let's talk numbers, right? Because for every business decision, there's always a part of numbers, right? Either it is the numbers with reference to how much money you're making, or how much lives you're impacting, how many jobs you're creating, and all of that. Let's talk numbers. What is your anticipated, as it were, roughly anticipated employment quota when it comes to this project coming to Enugu State? What are you anticipating?
Okay, I'm glad you put it like that, because we look at impact in three ways. Remember, I said our currency is footfall. So we look at impact in number of visitors, number of people employed, number of new businesses created, and the impact down the supply chain. So let me answer straightforward your question, and I'll use a little bit of an analogy. So in Lagos, we created about 4,000 jobs directly, and indirectly, probably about 16 to 20,000. In Enugu, we expect to create something in the region of 5,000 jobs directly, about 4 times that indirectly. But most importantly, from a supply chain basis, we expect to create probably between 150 to 200,000 jobs locally in the supply chain. We believe, we're obsessed with trying to create impact, by the way, because we feel the bigger the impact, the more successful we will be. So 80% of the jobs and the SMEs will be locally sourced. So the second aspect of people and jobs is SMEs. So as we probably know, that small, medium enterprises are the drivers of any economy. The more they are and the more successful they are, the more that local economy succeeds. Because of the nature of what we do and how we provide the platform for SMEs to trade at their very best, we're almost like an SME incubator and aggregator. So in Lagos, we created 150 SMEs per year over that period. And some of these businesses that started with nothing, were producing revenues in excess of 10 million naira a month. And we're talking about one-man businesses, someone frying chicken, someone selling ice, someone doing ice cream for the kids. So because of the footfall element, so we believe Enugu, especially Nike Lake Resort, as a destination, and with the things we intend to do there, we believe we'll create upwards of 5,000 jobs directly. And we will create at least between 150 to 200 small and medium-sized enterprises, which will employ their own people, which is why I feel indirectly we'll create over 20,000 jobs. The supply chain, whether it's people for every piece of chicken that's bought, every Coca-Cola that's drank, every ice that's used, every cup that's used, is a local supply chain. And we believe many multiples of jobs will be created through that supply chain as well.
Okay, good point there. But a concern that had been raised by quite a number of persons has been whether or not, I mean, you did say, I had to jot that down, you did say that 80% of jobs will be locally sourced. Now, one of the questions that comes to mind is this manpower you're seeking. I don't wish to write down the zone or the state, but you sure we can have all those adequate skills and requisite experience needed found here in Enugu State?
Probably not at the outset. And I'll tell you a very short story. About 8 years ago, when we were trying to step up our leisure and hospitality business, it was obvious that we couldn't find the resources that we needed. I chartered 2 jets, got a holiday resort in Dubai, and took my entire team for 10 days to Dubai and immersed them in what we were trying to do. Brought them back, and it made a huge difference. In addition to that, we've signed up with an international hospitality school based in Lausanne, Switzerland. And we've created course packages and training packages to ensure that from a leisure, hospitality, tourism, and lifestyle perspective, we're well equipped to provide those, and we can equip all the people. So it's going to be a burn. It's going to be a slow burn, but I believe over 1 to 5 years, we'll be able to source, train, educate, immerse at least 3,000 to 4,000 people, local people in Enugu, to provide these services.
Okay, I think that's a good way to go. But we'll take a short break at the moment, take a breather. When we come back, I'll find out from you what your thoughts are with reference to tourism potential of this project in Enugu State, amongst other things after this time out. So stay tuned. The program, These and Business Reports, returns in a bit. Join us is still the Eastern Business Report right here on the Afia Business Morning, and I'm still playing host to Paul Onwuanibe, who is the founder and CEO of Landmark Africa Group. And we've been talking about the landmark effect, with special reference to the hospitality industry in Enugu State. And let's get back to him. Mr. Paul, are you there? All right, great. Let's get into this conversation real quickly. Let's talk about what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts with reference to Enugu's tourism potential, with special reference with the advent of your project here in Enugu State? What are your thoughts, really?
So I judge tourism potential on a number of things. So let me perhaps highlight the first 3. The first is the enabling environment provided by the government. And I am absolutely convinced that His Excellency Dr. Peter Mba is obsessed with creating a tourism platform. I know how long it took to do this and the sort of questions that were asked. So I know that that's serious. So the enabling environment is one thing. The second thing about tourism is just the logistics, the reach. It's whatever you do, you need to put it in a place that is safe. So from a security perspective, looks beautiful and has access to several regions. So Enugu ticks those 3 boxes. And the third thing is the actual site you do it on. Nike Lake was chosen for obvious reasons, not just because it's idyllic and historic, but it just offers an immense potential to do so many things in one place and provide this little platform that we used to provide to create a business, leisure, and lifestyle destination.
Great. Now let's talk about some few other things just before our time is up, because already time is running real fast. Now, the question that really comes to mind is, Is this a PPP or an outright takeover of the Nikkei Lake Resort?
So it's a combination. So under the sort of public-private sector partnership, we've taken on a long-term lease at what effectively is a commercial rate. So we're paying for that, but it's long enough for us to make an incredibly large investment to not only curate what we want to do, but also revamp, rebuild, build new things, provide new adventures, and operate it. At the end of the lease, we return it to the state government in a thriving and viable state.
Okay.
But the lease is many decades, so it gives us the chance to invest real resources into it.
Okay, great. So, what is the anticipated transformation that we should, look forward to when it comes to the Nikkei Lake, as it were, Lake Resort? Because, let's put it like this. When you order something online, you say what you ordered versus what you got. So, in this case scenario, what's on ground and what are we expecting?
All right. So what's on ground now? I mean, it's a fairly tired place. It requires quite a lot of work. I have a whole team of people that have been there for the last few weeks, going through sort of the discovery and handover process. And hopefully that will take place over the next 2 to 3 months. Over the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to have to, needs a lot of TLC. We're going to have to revamp the grounds, renovate the actual hotel, add new experiences and adventure. So we're going to do everything from sports to, world-class kids clubs, to a water park, a concert area, and a whole series of leisure and entertainment facilities across the site, in addition to the new hotel. So we're likely to build another smaller spec hotel on the same site whilst revamping the new site. So we estimate that expenditure is going to be in the region of 10 billion naira. In the short term, and obviously in the long term, we'll do whatever is required to make it a world-class facility.
Okay. I think that's a good place to leave this conversation. Thank you so much, Paul, for joining me this morning on the ESM Business Report. It's been a pleasure hosting you. Thank you.
The pleasure has been entirely mine. Thank you.
All right, very well. Thank you for just joining in. I've been playing host to Paul Onwuanibe, who is the founder and CEO, Landmark Africa Group, and we've been talking about, hospitality in Enugu State, the landmark effect. And you can be part of this conversation by going to our dedicated Afia Business YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/Afia Business. And while you're there, do well to hit the like button. Remember, you should subscribe so you get notifications and all business-related content coming to you from Afia TV. My name is Ubong Kings. Stay tuned.